All right, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at the last few pieces here, just that I want to show you intro-wise to our interface builder. So far, we added a nice label. We changed the color of the font. We changed the font style. We did that all in our attributes inspector over here. So couple other things here. I just want to show you just some organizational things that could be very helpful. So let's take a look at the outline view here. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on the view controller so you get the nice blue border. That's just a good way to know that, hey, this thing's selected. All right, bottom left corner, this icon is our show document outline button. So go ahead and click on that button. And this is our, basically gives you everything that is showing up on this view controller. So we have our view controller scene. All right, so again, the main, this big rectangle, this big box, is, we call it a view controller. Okay, so this, everything that I'm circling here, this that has blue around it, is a view controller. All right, the top layout guides are just different, kind of like a header and a footer in a Word document. Okay, so those are there. And then the view, okay, that is what basically everything you put, it's basically the container of your app, if you want to look at it that way. So basically, you can see underneath view, we have that label we put in our last lesson. So the label is part of the view. So now with our view selected, you'll notice we have our attributes inspector. We can change different things. So again, we want to have a different background color. We could do that. Okay, so let's give it a nice purple background there. Okay, so you could definitely do that. Okay, so that's a very simple way to do that without coding it. Okay, but again, the idea is that this arrow means here's our view. Again, so that's this whole, there's the view, okay? And then within the view, we have our label. So as you can see, when I click on the view and welcome back, the selection changes. Okay, so that's just, again, it's a nice outline organizational tool that will be helpful when you really start adding more things to it. You know, so now when you have your label selected, you could come back over here. We can make different changes to the label. So if we scroll down to the view part, I could change the background color of my label to a nice magenta, really get this thing bright and clashing. Again, so that's the idea. So you could easily click on view this way here. All right, or I could come to my outline. All right, it's all kind of up to you, but outline can be very, very helpful to you as you move forward. But again, it's just important to realize that there is a relationship between what is selected in the outline on the view and then what can show, what you can change. So again, if I click on label here, this label gets selected, and then I can make all these changes. If I click on view, the view selected, and then I can make these changes. Okay. The last thing that we'll cover here is just all apps must have at least one view controller. Okay, and then one view. Okay, so the view we talked about, that's this big rectangle that I'm got my mouse in right now. Okay, the file associated with the view controller is the view controller.swift file, and that is right here. All right, so then when you click on that, now we're looking at some stuff that, okay, now this is where our code's going to happen. So when you look at your storyboard, because right now we have an app with a label, not much has happened here. Okay, but what we need to do, if we ever wanted to have our app become interactive, or we want things to change, that's when you got to start creating code. Okay, so now up top here, this icon or this little button, it's called the Assistant Editor, two circles, and you click on that. Gives us a view to really emphasize this or illustrate this point. So this view controller is attached to this code file. So viewcontroller.swift and this view are connected. So if I want anything I want to change through code, I do it in here, and whatever I type here will affect this view and nothing else. Okay, so we'll get into more information about that as we go. All right, but again, these two are linked. Anytime you have a storyboard file and you want it to be attached to code, you have to have a .swift file with it. So we will definitely cover that more, but I just want to kind of give you a little idea how that works. And then again, I did that by just clicking on the two circles up top. The standard editor is just this view. So standard editor, assistant editor, standard assistant, on and on we go here. Okay, so that's really it for right now. Okay, so I'm going to stop it at this point here, and then I think we got a good start. We've definitely covered some good material here, and we'll definitely move on. But if you have any questions, just make sure you are asking. Nice job though, getting through our first little lesson on this interface builder. Next thing, we'll get into some variables and constants and start doing a little code. Thanks, guys.